Hi, everybody. How are you? This is take two. Welcome. I'm Green Irene. I hope you are all doing very well, fighting the good fight, staying strong, keeping lit, and looking for new ways to better enjoy life, right? Isn't that what it's all about? That's one of the reasons we put up the good fight. So thank you for tuning in to today's show, Green Irene's. Frequently asked questions. It's not even frequently asked. It's live Q&A on the Fibro Fight series here on Facebook. A lot of great questions have been coming in. Yes, I will post in the comments section. I will definitely post the links that I refer to throughout today's show in the comments section at some point in time, okay? Either throughout the show or at the end of the show. One of the key things that keeps coming up, and now partly because I kind of threw it out there in the world and said, hey, here's some interesting information about fibro fog and fighting fibro fog, which of course led to some people saying, yeah, but this is a bit more than fibro fog. I mean, I'm genuinely forgetting things. I'm having zaps in my brain and memory and cognitive ability and function. So yes, you are right, my friend, with what you're describing. This is a form of sensory overload response, okay? So when we, especially as fibromyalgia patients, chronic fatigue syndrome, so CFS, ME, myoencephalitis, when you are dealing with a chronic illness such as this that attacks the autoimmune system via the central nervous system, we experience something that is referred to as sensory overload. Yes. So I just posted a great article yesterday on fightfibro.ca. Let me put that in there. Fightfibro.ca, www. Too many W's. Fightfibro.ca. Go straight to the blog section, and you will find the article about sensory overload. I am going to discuss it a little bit today because several questions came in directly related to sensory overload. So what is sensory overload? Sensory overload is, well, okay, yeah, it's a symptom that's going to have significant impact and effect on the quality of life that you're living. It is really going to, for all intents and purposes, it can take your happiness hostage. It can hold it hostage just because you're fearful of experiencing certain things because of sensory overload, like a concert. That's just too much information coming in. What is sensory overload? Sensory overload is this. It is too much information that is coming in, okay? It is too many sensations all at once, too many smells, too many thoughts, too many sounds, too many feelings. And by that, I mean, the sand, the hot sand and the cold water simultaneously is enough to put your brain into shock. Okay, so we're looking at basically too many of anything, too much color, too many different colors, or too many bright colors, too many bright lights, too many flashing lights. Sound becomes amplified just beyond, and you can hear everything and anything, including a light bulb that's about to spark. Too much activity, too many kids running around, too many animals, maybe too many squirrels, maybe it's just too much activity happening. Too many scene changes on the screen that can really affect the fibro fighter. Too many smells. Walking into a grocery store is a huge trigger for me that I have to seriously prepare well in advance for. Just there are too many smells. There are cleaners, there are vegetables, there are meats, there are cheeses, there's packaging, there's perfumes, there's body odors, there's cleaning ingredients. Like there is just everything in a grocery store, and it is very overwhelming for my senses, and it will cause me a sensory overload, which will cause my body to shut down. Some of the things that, basically it's just, there's too much information to be processed by the brain, and the brain is trying desperately to process that information, and it just can't all at once. So it can only select certain things. Hello, thank you for tuning in. So some of the things that we can do, we're going to come back to preventative measures and things we can do right in that moment in time. What are some of the symptoms of sensory overload? Well, I call them brain farts, foggy head. So yes, it is a little bit more, Samantha, it is a little bit more. I'm going to turn this so you can see a bit better. And I can see as well what I'm pointing at. Let's see if I can get that in the camera. Sorry guys, we are live. So, Samantha, yes, it is a little bit more than a foggy head because it is. It's thoughts that get kind of trapped in a bubble, and you're kind of caught in that thought for what seems like a very extended period of time, almost as though you're zoning out on that thought, and then you realize, oh yeah, it was pepper that I was reaching for on the table. That's kind of like a bubble thought. You're just caught in this trap that you can't seem to get out of. Brain farts, that's memory losses. That's like literally I was going to say something and poof, it popped out of my head. I call them brain farts. WTF moments. These are huge for fibro fighters or chronic fatigue sufferers. Now you're hearing, you know, a lot of this is memory. So all of that causes this huge freaking confusion that is very, very overwhelming, very, very difficult to deal with. So what does it actually feel like, or how does symptom or sensory overload result or manifest? It will manifest in frustration, guaranteed. It manifests in irritability. It manifests in major mood swings, anger. It gets sick to your stomach. You feel nauseated, dizzy, and that's from the tension that's increasing. And of course, with the nausea and the tension and the irritability and the foggy thoughts and everything else, what ends up happening is we throw ourselves into a full, all-out fibro flare. Yes, so you do have control over the fibro flares. Hello, 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 Ginger. Thank you for saying hi. So what ends up happening is often a lot of patients or clients will go into the panic zone. It causes huge anxiety. Panic, anxiety leads to greater tension, which leads to more pain, which of course causes mood swings. Ultimately, this insidious cycle or hamster wheel that we're trapped on drops us, and we are feeling like rat crap. Okay, we feel depressed, we get sad. And when we're sad and depressed, what do we end up doing? Thank you, dear. What do we end up doing? We end up back in that state of anger and frustration and so on and so forth. And it's very hard to get out of here for patients. So recognizing the triggers that'll bring us in here. That sensory overload, this is sensory overload in a nutshell. Sensory overload is a lot, and it is a huge trigger for many, 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 many patients and fighters. What are some of the things that you're going to do? Okay, I have a lot of, you asked me here. Okay, I'm going to come back to that question. I'm almost there. What are some of the things that we can do? Of course, let's talk about when you're in that moment. What do you want to do? You want to take a time out. If you can step out of the situation just for a moment to be by yourself, to take a couple of really deep breaths. Inhale, and as you're inhaling, imagine that you are giving room for all of this information to be digested, and you don't have to digest it right now. Let your brain know as you're taking that nice deep breath that this is okay, this too shall pass, and I will deal with the extra information later. I don't have to take it all in right now. You, brain, are doing your job as you're inhaling. You're feeling much better about your brain taking that information in. As you exhale, allow that anxiety to go with it, all of those negative thinking patterns to go with it. So on the exhale, you're exhaling going, all right, there goes that nervous energy. Another deep inhale, and as you're taking that second deep inhale, once again, imagine giving room to all of that information to be neatly piled on your desk or tacked onto the whiteboard, that your brain can take care of it at a later point in time. This will not only help calm your mind, body, and soul, it will reduce any anxiety that can begin at that point. It will help to alleviate the tension immediately. 4 deep breaths I recommend for everyone, at least 3. Get those 3 into you, okay? but 4 deep breaths really seem to do the job. If you can't get away, another way of getting a timeout is take an extra couple of minutes in the bathroom. Excuse yourself to the bathroom, take a couple of minutes to have that really deep breath and really think about, here's the oxygen you need for all of the information that's coming in. Now you can calm down, put it neatly on my desk. Thank you very much. Sensory overload's like having a crap load of kindergarten children, so about 300 of them, charge you on the fields because you have the freezies. Okay, you gotta whoa and back this up so that you can handle it efficiently. Tell your brain that it has the ability to do that, and it will do that for you. It will help reduce this constant insidious cycle from evolving and taking place. Okay, so timeout. When you're in the middle of a sensory overload, a timeout is absolutely essential. If you cannot get into a timeout and breathe, knowing ahead of time some self-hypnosis techniques or having triggers in place. This is something I work with myself a lot, as well as plenty of other people, to help them create triggers in a hypnosis so that when all of those lights are flat, we're at a carnival. All the lights and sounds and smells are going off, and you want to be able to enjoy a carnival, right? You don't want your happiness being held hostage by this disease, do you? I didn't. And that's why I learned these tips, these tools, these techniques. NLP and hypnosis combined with cannabis, because cannabis is an amazing facilitator to help get us calm to the spot that we need to be. It's also fantastic for our health and wellness. So I use cannabis, NLP, and hypnosis on a very regular basis. Having some pre-treatments and learning, it only takes 2 or 3. Having 2 or 3 treatments, you learn how to create this village in your mind or in your body, or this place of calmness, the sensation of calmness, the sound of calmness that allows you or affords you that extra moment or 2 that your brain needs to process some information. So in my particular case, what I do is I use the NLP, and what I do is I have little volume switches. And in those volume switches, when I'm taking that deep breath and I take that moment, because I'm in a crowd of people are at the carnival, we just walk through the gates, I'll take that very deep breath, and as I'm taking it, I'm pulling down the volume. When I exhale, I've let go of the leash, and I've got it right where the volume where I want it to be. If something should trigger me, because yes, I am, and your brain will be on high alert in those moments. When your brain is on high alert during a symptom overload, flare up, or trigger, or you think you're in a trigger environment, another technique is to have a trigger spot. So I have, and we do this in hypnosis using the NLP technique of when you reach that calm spot, even though all of those noises are happening around you, even though everything is going off simultaneously, and you feel that panic setting in, you can take that nice deep breath and quickly trigger. I usually have an elastic, and I will pluck my elastic, and I don't wear anything that hurts me because I'm tender, but I'll put on like a nice crocheted one, and it's just enough, or I reach for my circle of power. I'll talk about a lot more about my circle of power next week and the week after, because we're going to get into that. And this circle of power affords me do you know what? I can live right here in this little bubble. This goes straight to my heart, and all is good. There's room, there's space. Okay, and that's a type of self-hypnosis that you can do in 30 seconds when you get really good at it. Practicing meditation every day, taking 3 minutes out, 5 minutes out, and 15 minutes out. Whatever you can do is the best, right? Let's start with 3 minutes. Meditation is very difficult. I know a lot of people say, oh, I cannot meditate. I can't calm my brain. I can't make it slow down long enough. I'm going to be doing a workshop in the fall, a virtual workshop. We'll see how it goes. And I know there is benefit to that. If you sit in a quiet room and take those 4 deep breaths, it affords your mind and body the extra space to negotiate with things like this, and we don't get into the sensory overload. When you are in a full flare of sensory overload and self-hypnosis is only helping to manage the symptoms, or NLP techniques are only helping to control your environment or your experience to it. You may find that maintaining cohesive thinking patterns is difficult. And once again, having techniques and practice. Whiteboards are absolutely essential in my world. I use them often. I know that if I put it on my whiteboard, it's something that I will attend to at some point in time. So, okay, I hope that answered a lot of the questions about what sensory overload is. Some techniques that you can use or tools that you can employ to help alleviate the symptoms or prevent and control the triggers or yourself when you're in an environment that is fertile with triggers, like the grocery store. And it's answered a few of these questions. So I do have a couple more questions that I can get to. Let me take a peek. You get your juice on and you also use music, as do I. I love, absolutely love, I believe it's Tibetan throat music or Tibetan, yeah, it's a throat music and it's, wow, just, I can't do it. I'm not going to fake it, but it's a really, wow, it's kind of like it vibrates my body into that space that it needs to be in. So, okay, so that takes care of sensory overload. There. Where was another question on sensory overload? Oh, somebody asked, are certain personalities or personality-related characteristics that would increase the emotional distress noted in individuals with fibromyalgia? Like having unexpected, unrealistic expectations. For example, a type A personality, my therapist. Okay, yes. Okay, yes, if your brain, we train our brain to work in certain patterns because it wants to take the easiest, most efficient route. So if we've taught it to respond emotionally or react physiologically, when we have the threat of sensory overload, we will respond in that way each and every time until we decide to take a different route. Does that make sense? The easiest way to introduce a new route would be to create change. And we do that using NLP. We would, so hypnosis, we would put you into a trance where basically you're seeing whatever environment you feel, whatever environment you taste, smell, any of that. You can, all of it is there. And you experience that, and then we map over that. We put a different image there and help create a new path or awareness or pattern of behavior. So that way you can avoid certain environments that you would be triggered automatically. At the same time, when you are triggered in the moment, you have a switch, kind of like what I was talking about with my little crochet dingies here, or my circle of power, in which you can call upon to take that 1/10 of a second is all it takes to get your guy from going this route behavior that you've always done. It takes a 1/10 of a second and just something like that to change that thought to go here. And now 2-degree change isn't very much off course unless you're going the long distance. And I hope you're all here for the long distance and you're happy being here. Isn't that the key, right? Okay, so I hope that answered your question, Kathy. Let's see, who else? Some of the most common, okay, are toxin buildups related to sensory overload? I don't know. I'm sorry, I haven't done enough studies in that particular area to know. I do know that persistent bacteria, like yeast or viral infections, that sort of thing happens frequently for some fibro patients and sufferers. I don't know the relation between that and sensory overload. I think if your body is battling something, your brain is already on overdrive, sending, all kinds of soldiers down to heal this area. So if you're dealing with, and I'm not sure, just because of the way you've described it here, I'm not sure if you meant in your environment or on your person, like if you're dealing with a lot of bacteria infections. So either way, what I'm going to say is when you are dealing with a whole lot of one thing, there's not a lot of spoons left of energy to deal with the other things. So we tend to deal with them in an autopilot, which is old patterns. Never really solved the problem, but you know what, just put it at bay for a while. That's kind of how the brain works, right? So what we want to do when it comes to toxins, I'm not sure what you're saying. I am saying your energies are depleted in dealing with that, which means, yes, you may be more sensitive to a sensory overload. I'm pretty sure I made that. Yeah, okay. Moving on. Okay, another question. I think I just answered that one. Yeah, you may have the urge to cover your ears and stuff like that, and then you get really self-conscious, like at a concert, and you get self-conscious about that. But again, learning what your triggers are is going to make a huge difference. Learning how to cope with those triggers, recognizing that you're not going crazy. Yes, you do have to prepare in advance of. For the record, prepare is not a word. So prepare in advance of. Okay, that was in one of my other shows. I kept saying prepare. No, fibromyalgia is not considered a mental illness. Many people will experience things like depression and or anxiety. They're going to have numerous mood swings. It could cause like a personality I hesitate to say disorder, but it could cause a personality dis-ease. Not one word, 2 words. So your personality is not at ease. You don't know where to put yourself or how to put yourself. And this, after a length of time, is a form of training the brain. So we can become antisocial creatures for a whole lot of reasons. But to call fibromyalgia a mental illness would be really off base. It's not. You will experience mental illness symptoms. I hope that cleared that up. Okay. This one saddens me. I promise you, you don't have to become a cripple just because you have fibromyalgia. In fact, you don't have to be anything you don't want to be. You can be anything and everything you want to be. Here's what I have to say to you, Kathleen. Your body right now is not at ease, okay? The condition of fibromyalgia, there's a lot left to be learnt about it. And at this point in time, no, we do not have a cure for it, but you can live a very full, healthier, happy life, green and clean, staying away from pharmaceuticals as much as you possibly can, learning to use your own strength, your own brain power, the body is the human machine is an amazing machine. And your brain has the ability to absorb so much information and to use that information to help you heal to help you. So if you can stay away from the pharmacists, because they're kind of like putting plugs in our plate in places, and they put veils over the pain. Gabapentin's one. It masks the brain's ability to register the pain. There's all kinds of, and then it's doing the work for you. Senecot will make your bowels very, very lazy. You will lose the ability to have a properly functioning bowel movement, which means if you're not eliminating the toxins, we end up with a toxic buildup. You guys get the idea. Okay, magnesium. Is it good for fibro? Well, after a certain age, magnesium for women in particular is good for just period, right? So yeah, get it out of your and I know everybody's gonna run to the store and get a bottle of magnesium. Don't do that. Go and get some kale. Massage that kale with some salt and oil. My daughter taught me how. Crunch it up, put it in the oven, make yourself some kale chips. Do you know how much calcium and magnesium and blah, blah, and yada, yada? And you can add some cannabis leaf in there, and that'll make it wonderful too, because all of the essential nutrients are there, okay? We are what we eat. So if you're eating a crap load or a chaos of chaos, guess what your body's going to be? If you are eating healthy and properly for you and the season, then you're already 1/3 of the way there. Getting proper sleep is absolutely essential. We need a good diet for our brains to healthily to digest our day's absorption of information. We need that downtime. We need good quality restful sleep to absorb the information, to absorb the nutrients from our food. So we need to introduce good food that's going to stick around for a while so we can get those nutrients out of it. Build your body, build your mind, build your soul, build your spirit, build your brain, and just keep growing strong. On that note, guys, I want to thank everybody for tuning in to today's live Q&A. I'm going to check for a couple of quick questions just to see if we've got any hanging out. Hello, hello, hello. And you know what? I am having a hard time with the tech stuff. It's just a lot of information to process simultaneously. So I do think that I answered everybody's questions. Magnesium is good just in general. Any women over 45, I think you need to get a little extra into your diet. Just, you know, things start to deplete. We don't produce the same amount of things that we did in our 20s. All of that being said, Mondays, check out greenirene.ca. There will be a new blog post. On Wednesday, I will be taking a toke at 2 on the Green Irene THC group page and sharing what's new and all the cool stuff happening, just taking a break, revealing behind the scenes. I don't know what you want to call it. And Thursday, there will be another blog post. But remember to check out the blog post from yesterday on the fightfibro.ca website. If this information has helped you, that's awesome. Please share it with the people that you love and care about. Get it out to as many people as you possibly can. And if you ever want to say thank you and buy me a coffee, you can. You can treat me to a coffee at ko-fi.com/GreenIrene's THC. All right. Thanks, guys. Ciao for now. Cheers. Thanks for tuning in.